Welcome everyone to Melanated Mondays, September 2021. Melanated Mondays is a monthly free community program of Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop. We exist to use narrative and performance as a vehicle to disrupt anti-Blackness wherever we encounter it. And we use Melanated Mondays to highlight some aspect of a larger issue within the zeitgeist, use narrative to attach Black experiences and identities, to contextualize these issues within the zeitgeist. Please excuse my dog. Of course, he decided to play with the loudest toy in the apartment at this exact moment because he's appropriately disrespectful. Yeah, that's what Melanated Mondays does. And tonight's theme is remixing the Constitution. Melanated Mondays is a program of a small theater company. As such, we are occasionally plagued by our lack of resources. Unfortunately, this month we do not have a speaker, not for lack of trying. We are out here, as y'all have seen, month after month as we bring in some amazing Black educators, organizers, nonprofit leaders, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Sometimes it bees like that. So we're going to talk about it with our amazing artists, whoever stays on after tonight's performances. But it'll probably be a shorter evening. And thank you all for joining. The first scenes up this evening, they're both back-to-back scenes from a little play I co-wrote with Mia Kogavia called After Swarm. We have a lot of organizations to thank for After Swarm. We had residency through the Tank in 2018. The premiere kind of presentation of it was in 2019 at Jack. We partnered with some schools to be able to take it in Connecticut. After Swarm was kind of a labor of love, but also a labor of deep, deep disappointment with the country that we live in, as a reflection on what happens when people buy whole hog into dogmatic leadership. And so it follows a series of people who had joined up with a community organization that really rallied them around the idea that they could launch a successful revolution to get the equitable need, or to attain equity for Black communities throughout the United States. The revolution fails, and After Swarm follows the aftermath of this failed revolution and the remaining straggling devotees of this ideological movement as they grapple with the fact that they're basically in a cult. And with that, I turn it over to Donnell Cole-Price, who's reading our stage directions.
Cast by Jasmine Boone as Eva, Xander Jackson as Kita, Mia Kogavia as Gigi, Ikimini Ekpo as Essence, Tim Craig as Colton, Donnell Cole-Price as Stage Directions. Scene 4 by H. Harvey, Flashback.
What about the blue one?
Colton enters looking dapper.
How do I look?
Like you're ready to change the world.
Then it's perfect.
Almost.
I don't care what the publicist says. Folks like Negroes in hats, they don't have to deal with what's in their heads. Besides, I have it on good authority that I look quite impressive without a head.
Very handsome.
Irresistible?
I don't know about all that. Your head's a little big.
That's cold.
Don't worry, I still love you and all your big old head.
Why don't you come here and show me how much you love me?
And mess up that bougie suit, please. Plus, we still have to finesse this speech.
It's fine. It's finesse to death.
No such thing. And it's just a few notes. Like these criticisms of white feminists, they're going to read too harsh.
I'm preparing my people for a revolution.
It's all the revolution until we're liberated, even copy editing. And here, this bit about nest partners.
Every man.
Person.
In the flock has a nest partner, whom shall.
Say will like a normal person. It's a speech, not the Bible.
We're aiming for gravitas here.
And landing squarely in hubris? It just sounds like we're randomly pairing people off to monitor and punish each other.
That's a vital part of what we do.
I wouldn't go that far. Necessary evil, maybe.
Oh, come on, Eva, don't be so goddamn naive. Would you ask coal to turn into a diamond? No, you apply pressure. I demand excellence and reinforce with discipline, because if we let them deviate from the principle, there are thousands of whites happy to show these niggas how to heal. I know. I'm working on it. I'm sorry.
Are you?
Of course. Let me make it up to you.
Maybe later. The speech is fine. Enjoy the spotlight.
Love. 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 I'm sorry. Sorry.
Scene 4, present day. Eva returns with a revolver and a box. She hides the gun and begins to cook. Essence enters.
How's your headache?
How's your ass kicking?
Healing nicely. I thought I'd make dinner as a peace offering.
And how do I know you won't poison us all?
I guess you'll just have to hang out with me while I cook. Come on, Essence. I don't bite, or at least I won't bite you.
What are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to make conversation, not that you make it easy. It's a wonder they're so fond of you.
Me? I'm not the one pretending to be Colton's girlfriend.
For an imposter, I seem to be much clearer on my service to the nest than you.
But awfully dumb to try making it here when there's still ice on the river.
Judging from your general performance, I'd say it was a necessary sacrifice. Sorry. I really don't want to fight with you. Let's try again. How long have you known Kita? Okay. Then what's your deal with Gigi? Y'all seem friendly. I just wonder if it's appropriate.
Seriously? It's the 21st century.
I was referring to the age difference, which doesn't seem to be the only one between the two of you. The best partnerships are built on more than connection. They're built on shared conviction. Have you spoken to her about?
I'm not talking about this with you.
It's either that or the chili. Speaking of, I'm going to start seasoning soon.
So?
You'll want to get closer to check the paprika for arsenic. Want to taste it?
You think arsenic is so funny? You taste it first.
Oof, good call. Needs hot sauce. I know I left some here.
Eva goes to storage, and Essence notices her gun. Essence stands, lowers her gun, waiting for Eva to return.
Found it.
Eva enters, sees the gun, and pauses. After a moment, she continues moving forward.
Never made chili at gunpoint before.
I'm going to ask you a question. If you keep giving me bullshit, I'm going to put you down.
I'm an open book.
Why do you have a gun?
We lost a battle, but the revolution isn't over yet.
You know what I mean. How did you get a gun?
I tucked it between the spices. Speaking of which, how do you feel about cilantro?
Essence fires her weapon out the window.
That was a warning shot. You still think I'm playing with you?
A little bit.
What the fuck?
Just in time. How do you feel about cilantro in your chili?
Eva's continues cooking as the two argue.
I told her to stop fucking around.
Essence, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You weren't even here. She's
I shouldn't have to babysit you.
babysit me. Nigga, fuck you. She washes up on our base, and all of a sudden you're all scale this and rank that.
I wouldn't have to pull rank on your ass if you could stop and think for a goddamn minute.
I am thinking. I'm the only one thinking. Gigi's studying bugs and shooting birds with our last 3 bullets. Well, you've got your head so far up your ass, you don't see that the girl has a gun.
It's true. I have a gun.
She unholsters it as if to show it off. Essence begins to take aim, but Eva is faster.
Look, Peaches, I tried with you. I really did. And considering you're just a scale 3, I'm pretty sure I'm a better shot than you. So we can test my theory, or you can sit down and enjoy my chili recipe.
Essence holsters her weapon.
I'm going to need you to discard your weapon.
Essence places her gun on the ground and kicks it away from both her and Eva.
Thanks. Now let's break bread. Go ahead, Peaches.
Essence gets a bold, followed by Kita and Eva.
How did you get a gun?
We should always be prepared to take up arms for the cause.
That's not an answer.
That's what I said.
I left weapons here.
Yeah, but why didn't you show us? You must have known that we needed more than food.
I hadn't decided if I trust you yet.
It doesn't matter if you trust us. We don't trust you.
I've noticed, so you can see why I'm reticent to arm you.
You know, I'm trying to see this from your side, but you gotta understand, you're a wild card. We don't know you from Adam.
That's not true. Essence I can forgive, but the Sixes would have told you about me. They would have taught you about nest partnership, about big brother and big sister.
We thought it was a metaphor. Look, I'll make a deal with you. I can't promise you trust, but we'll give you a room. No more threats, no more violence. But you can't keep surprising us. We need to be honest with one another.
How am I supposed to trust you?
If you are who you say you are, you just have to trust your handiwork. I'm a scale 5. You should be able to trust my principle. So what do you say? No more surprises?
No more surprises.
By the principle.
By the principle.
By the principle. The cilantro is weird though.
How you make your chili then?
You want to exchange recipes now? Fuck out of here.
Man, you don't know how to make no chili.
I know you put some cumin in that shit.
All right. Next time I'll make your chili recipe if you stop waving your gun around like a maniac. Your posture is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah, oathy nightmares.
No, just plain old black nightmares.
Yeah, y'all. Especially you. You laughing and shit, but you're the one that's supposed to train me.
Essence.
I mean, Kita's great. He trained me every weekend,
Every week?
sometimes more.
5 should know we expect daily training for 3s. It's not easy to turn a civilian into a warrior of the principle. Daily training, daily meditation, daily practice, discipline. I'll train you. If it's okay with you, Kita, of course.
You're serious?
Absolutely. As his nest partner, your performance reflects on him, just as his performance reflects on you. But as members of the flock, you all reflect on me.
Someone's on the island.
How many of them are there?
I just saw the one, but there could be more.
I mean, we should assume there are.
You should take Essence upstairs.
Essence is right here and can fend for herself.
We can't make this place look abandoned before they get here.
We won't have to.
What the fuck are you doing?
Why do we serve the nest? I said, why do we serve the nest?
Scene 5, Gavia. Dawn, the island is under heavy rainfall and everyone is inside. Evil and Colton are in a secluded room above, while Essence, Gigi, and Keto play cards in the main room.
Uno, bitches.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
Nope. I'm gonna own your ass today.
This game isn't fair.
Says you. You wouldn't be complaining if I wasn't about to smoke you.
Yeah, you thought. Skip, draw 2, wild draw 4, Uno, out. Don't fuck with scale 5s at Uno, little sis. Man, I blood tithe in more ways than one. Now run me my ducats.
I don't want to play no more until we get a real Uno deck. I don't trust these homemade GG cards.
Excuse you? Y'all were rolling dice with rocks before I decided to make these cards.
Man, stop being a sore loser and pay up.
Rain drips on Essence's head.
Ew, it's slimy.
Another leak? Shit. Hold on, I really need to fix this damn roof.
She gets up and grabs a bucket to catch raindrops and a cloth to wipe Essence's head. She sets down the bucket and begins to pat down Essence's braids.
You're not going up there. We're lucky the ceiling hasn't collapsed already. Hopefully it'll hold out until we can get out of here.
Till you get out of here. I'm staying, remember? We'll have to fix it somehow. The roof's not going to last another storm.
But what about when the island gets invaded by...
It's already been invaded. Y'all invaded it, remember?
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess when the Othies come looking, she can huff and puff and collapse this whole place on top of them.
Hardy har har. Keep playing and I'll collapse it on top of all of you.
Yeah, Essie, how long does it take you to find 2 fucking quarters?
As Essence places her coins on the table, some weed falls out of her pocket.
Oh, and you can give me some of that.
Really?
She snatches a joint, begins to roll it expertly.
I thought you didn't smoke.
I don't. Tonight is an exception.
Why?
I mean, it might be the last time we sit together like this. Big Brother is here, and once he and Eva leave that room...
Yeah, that'll be a while.
Essence pinches her harshly on the arm.
Ouch.
Now, I'm just saying, things are gonna change.
So you're saying we should...
Yeah, just this once. Why not?
Lights shift to Colton and Eva, curled up in a ragged little love nest on another floor of the hospital. The heavy rainfall sounds almost romantic. He turns and kisses her shoulder.
You know, we never had a honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to take you somewhere tropical, like Barbados or Ecuador.
I love you. I do. But it's barely
But
dawn.
we never had the money, and then when we had the money, we never had the time. And when we had the money and the time, I took you boating around a bunch of godforsaken New York islands.
We were sowing seeds. It's important work.
The space we have right now, we might be the closest to, this might be the closest we get to a honeymoon. The rain on the roof, you here with me, it's almost
Romantic?
Did you ever want more? To start over?
More? Yes. Start over? No.
Did you ever regret it?
Not 1 minute.
Babe, if we could take a real trip, would you?
I haven't slept properly since you left. Just let me sleep.
Colton gets out of bed.
Fine. I'll go for a walk. But when I get back, we have to talk.
He throws on his coat, exits, lights up on Kita, Essence, and Gigi. They are high, and Gigi is busy braiding Essence's hair. Essence is holding/smoking the joint. Gigi becomes interested in something across the room.
Nikita,
Yeah?
look, it's a roach.
Nah, man, don't show me that shit. Mm-mm.
Are you scared of an insect?
Man, I'm not scared. Yeah, there were bigger ones at my auntie's house in Brooklyn. We used to turn out the light and they'd all just scatter, but one went into my mouth once while I was sleeping, and ever since then I just, ugh, oh, no.
Oh, poor baby. Shit. The joint's gone out again. Let me go get a match.
She darts off stage.
Well, hurry up and bring me back some spam.
Fuck, I'm so high. Oh, I haven't smoked in ages.
Boy like you, I wouldn't have pegged you for a lightweight.
Man, smoking is a deviation in the nest.
It seems like everything is a deviation in the nest.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I didn't remember it being like this in the beginning. Even later, when Essence was first paired with me, it was fine. Yeah, she was actually kind of chill back then. Hell, I was more chill way back then.
You? Essence? That I refuse to believe. Chill Essence? That's kind of creepy.
Man, none of us really expected to get this hard by the end. It was a community organization at first. State of the art, woke as fuck. Got everyone who needed one jobs. They did book drives and organized events. The works.
I know. Right before your violent little coup caught on, I thought the nest was actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, but not interesting enough to come to a meeting, huh?
I don't like crowds or yelling. Too chaotic.
They were really structured, actually. Kia and I used to love it. The energy was on this whole other level. No matter how shit your day was, you could go to a meeting, listen to Big Brother speak, get a good dinner, go home feeling the strength of your principle humming in your bones.
He had it like that, huh?
Yeah, he had it like that.
Makes sense why the white folks want him dead. Charisma up the ass and a dangerous theology. For you all's sake, I hope he never come back.
Yep.
What?
What?
Essence.
Hey, Kita. It's a roach.
And y'all.
Shit, you guys, I just passed Colton.
Oh, what? What's he doing down here?
I don't know, going to the bathroom. I didn't want him smelling weed on me, so I hid.
Y'all, we shouldn't be slacking off like this. We should be on patrol. Come on.
Relax. Eva told us we could wait until the rain lets up. You're so uptight, Kita.
Essence lights the joint, flips down it in front of Gigi. She quickly becomes absorbed in Essence's hair.
Oh my God, girl, your hair has gotten freaking long.
You know I've been putting in that arrow root.
No, I mean since I met you. It was short and brittle, and now it's so long, like Rapunzel.
Quit playing.
Seriously. Or, as you New Yorkers say, dead ass beat.
Essence rolls her eyes and tries to pass Kita the joint. He's staring off into space and doesn't notice her. A beat, Essence shakes Gigi off and crawls over to Kita.
Hey, Kita.
What?
What's it like to kill somebody?
If you're lucky, you'll never find out.
I have to move up the scale. There's only so much more I can do without blood tithing to scale 4.
Essie.
I'm not a child, Kita. The pigs could wash up on shore anytime, and I need to be ready to fight.
I said no, Essie.
Fine, I'll just ask Big Brother when he comes out.
Maybe we should talk about something else.
Yeah, nah. She's been bugging me about this for too long. You want to know, Essie? Fine. You know, so Kia and I lived upstate, but our closest nest chapter was in Woodlawn, right? We got the call to head in for a meeting, so we caught a cab to the train, hopped the turnstile, and got on the 4. But I guess somebody noticed us. And we got on an empty train, and then all of a sudden, these skinheads entered the car and started gunning for us.
Sorry.
You know, I was quick back then, but I could scrap, but I wasn't nothing special. But Kia was built for this shit. She'd been sticking up for me since I was a skinny ass 4-year-old. Had amazing reflexes, and as soon as they threw the first punch, man, she went into Hulk mode. Started swinging like a pro before I even got to my feet. And she took down the first guy on her own one punch. Then the other one, skinhead, clocked it from behind. She hit her head on a pole on the train, and she was lying there, not moving at all. And I just lost it. Killing someone feels like releasing this pressure. It builds and builds, and it's built all your life by the snows and the pigs and your own kid who tried to deviate. And then finally you start hitting someone in self-defense, and on the first punch, that pressure valve bursts and you can't stop hitting him. Because that snow hurts your sister. That snow is the reason your natural state is fucked up. That snow is saying, get off, you fucking nigger, until you punch his teeth in. And you keep hearing him long after he stops speaking. You keep hearing him, you fucking nigger, ringing in your ears until he stops looking like a person anymore. You hear the voices of all the snow saying, you fucking, until you realize he stopped breathing and you realize what you've done. And then you look at the guy and he's gone. He's done. It's over. And the only pressure you feel, the only thing you hear is your heartbeat just ringing in your ears. And it's quiet. And before things sink in, it's all quiet. And that's how you move up the scale.
He drops the joint, grinds it into the dirt with his foot. In the silence, we note that the rain has stopped.
You know what? Time for patrol.
He exits abruptly.
Kita.
Essence get up to run after him, but Gigi gets up first. She stares Essence in the face and shakes her head, stopping Essence in her tracks. Eva enters excitedly. Gigi glares and storms off after Kita.
What was that? Does Gigi hate me now?
I think she hates everyone half the time.
Not everyone. Your hair's half done.
Oh.
Here, let me.
Eva attempts to retwist the last few strands of hair.
Thank you.
Did Gigi do this?
Yes.
Was she high? Are you high?
Calm down. You said it yourself. Big brother indulged and we have extra.
It's not about that. It's about discipline.
I have discipline.
You have potential. But I don't hear you and Kita screen each other. In these circumstances, you should be screening every day.
I didn't know.
I'll start honing your screening skills from now on and bring Kita.
I will.
Good. I've centered myself. And I think with your help, Colton and I are ready to help center the nest. Sorry, I was never the best at braiding hair. Can you get Gigi to finish it up? We'll talk more later.
Okay, sure.
Gigi wails OS.
Go.
They run to the garden where Gigi is staring, stunned, at the wrecked contents of the greenhouse. Essence and Eva enter.
What in the world?
I'm out here to find Kita, and the hive is ruined.
Gigi, I'm so sorry.
The rain flooded the hive and the queen drowned. Without her, the bees are aimless. Swarmed already. Flown off to found another colony, God knows where. Spent years cultivating this project. It's why I came to this island in the first place, and over half the hive is just gone. It's the only thing I have now.
Essence embraces Gigi as she sobs. Eva watches intently.
Next up is a wonderful short by Tim Craig called Voir dire. We have Donnell Cole Price on stage directions. Xander Jackson is reading Brad. Ekemini Ekpo is reading Lawyer 1 and TSA Agent. Miyako Gavia is reading Sandra and Lawyer 2. And Tim Craig is reading Eddie.
We open on a camp zooming through the Brooklyn borough. It is stereotypically a gorgeous summer day in Brooklyn. Children are playing in a fire hydrant. There are jubilant lines at the barbershops. Sundresses are flowing in the breeze. Cut to Brad in the back of this cab. Brad is a late 20-something millennial spiraling into the world in front of him. He reaches for his phone while fumbling for it in the back seat. He takes a moment, too, to focus in on the Google Maps location and attempts to correlate with the jury duty summons in his adjacent head.
Just up to the right, ma'am. Yeah, that'll be fine.
The cab pulls up to the corner of the Brooklyn Municipal Court building. He hands the cab driver $20 American.
Thank you.
There's a sign and podium that reads 8 AM jury duty. Brad hustles to the podium with jury duty summons in his hand. Without looking, Sandra slightly looks up.
Line 3.
Brad looks up from his jury duty summons toward the 3 conveyor belt lines that resemble that of TSA lines at international airports. He looks down and follows the triangles on the floor reading line 3. Brad follows and is subtly startled.
Hats, bags, shoes. Hats, bags, shoes. Hats, bags, shoes.
Excuse me.
Hats, bags, shoes. On the line before you pass through.
Brad passes and sets his bag on the conveyor belts and begins to take off his shoes. Barefooted with jury duty summons in hand, Brad begins to walk slowly through the rectangular metal detectors.
Hands up.
Brad tentatively raises his hands and slowly passes through the rectangular metal detector.
Good to go?
Hats, bags, shoes.
Brad puts on his shoes and grabs his bag, still with jury duty summons in hands. Walking through a long hallway on the other side of the hallway are 3 elevators and 3 lines with 3 people each. Brad is unaware of what decisions to make. Eddie approaches from behind.
Hey, yo, my man, Brad from the Bully. Yo, you got the jury duty too? Oh shit, son, we out here. Hey, what a party at? We up in jury duty, what a Bacardi at? All those motherfuckers outside protesting, I bet none of them show up in here. I'm proud of you, homie. You out here really taking action. Hey, yo, you know what line it is to get into the jury duty? I'm trying to show up, you feel me?
Yeah, I think I was just about to ask you the same question.
Sandra, the same woman at the podium, appears from suddenly thin air.
Elevator number 2 for you. Now, why don't none of y'all pay attention to the colors? It's on your jury duty summons.
At that moment, Brad looks down at the jury duty summons, and it is the color green. Brad notices that the light above the elevators correlates to the line he should stand in. Brad stands in the line with the green light beaming above. The sound of the elevator pings loudly. It draws down as if from the heavens. Brad gets to the elevator where Sandra is.
What floor?
I don't. You just told me. I mean, I have the green ticket, correct?
Yeah, you have a green ticket, and if you still don't know where you are, how the hell you gonna know where you're going if you don't know where you are?
So
I'm currently trying to adhere to my summons for jury duty. I,
Ding ding, Brad. Hold on.
Sandra pressed the button on the elevator. It zooms up as Brad adjusts his footing, holding onto the railing of the elevator. Brad notices all of the squares of the elevator from the floor to the door to the operating board. The elevator ascends to Pluto and eventually comes to a stop.
Think you might be able to follow the signs now, pretty boy?
The elevator door closes very slowly, and Brad is left looking down at the green triangles and then back at his green jury duty summons. He follows in the direction of the arrows into a huge, lofty room. A room just big enough that cannot see the other side. Vast, if you will. There are chairs lined up, creating one aisle in the middle of his vast room. Various citizens are seated on either side of the room. On the other side of his room, there is Sandra behind the desk. Brad approaches tentatively.
um, hi. I'm here for
Let me guess. Jury duty. Give me your summons and state your name.
um Brad Jackson.
Brad hands over the summons. He turns around and walks down the aisle at the moment and the moment is interrupted as he does.
The fate of a lot of your brothers and sisters is at hand today.
The fate of who? Wait, what? Look, actually, my dog is under the weather. I don't know if I can.
Take a seat.
Brad walks over to take a seat and begins to pull out his phone. The first video in his algorithm plays. It's a news snippet from the preceding 5 o'clock news.
Hi, I'm Sandra Scott, and this is what's coming up at 5. New York State is in the process of choosing jurors for the high-profile case of Derek Waller and Sam Parker of the NYPD. Sam Parker could be facing second-degree murder in what is sure to be a landmark decision.
Brad simply swipes his phone to the next video. In the next video, Brad sees himself, but in glasses.
Welcome, YouTubers. Today in this video, we are going to talk about 101 ways to get out of jury duty. Number 1, tell them that your dog is sick.
Brad puts away his phone and rubs at his eyes as if to readjust. He takes a beat to collect himself.
Brad Jackson,
Here.
follow me. Can you do that?
Brad rushes up and bumps into the chair in front of him. Sandra proceeds to lead Brad down a long hallway. As they make their way down the hallway, there are more citizens approaching the two. A white female figure wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt appears, and in the same breath, slowly begins to disappear, almost as if evaporating. The hallway begins to illuminate the full color spectrum, and Brad slowly follows Sandra as if they arrive at 2 doors. There is number 1 and a number 2 labeled on the doors.
It's your choice now. Make sure you are seeing straight. 1 or 2, it's your choice.
Brad looks down at Sandra's name tag.
Hi, Sandra. Listen, here's the thing. I really shouldn't be here today because my dog is unwell, and I should really be there to see Spot through.
I'm going to tell you one time. While service on a jury is a civic duty, it can also be an occasion on which an average citizen has an opportunity to participate directly in the administration of justice given, and that the justice system is sometimes misunderstood or criticized. The opportunity to make a difference and learning more about an impartial part of our free and democratic society should be welcomed by all. Now choose a door.
Brad rushed towards door number 1, and as he stepped into the doorway, he began to fall freely, falling through space and time, eventually landing in a single chair with a single light. Scene 2.
Hello? Is anyone there? Look, I want to do my civic duty, but I have a dog, Spot, and Spot wasn't doing too well when I left.
Out of the darkness, 2 figures appear, both wearing suits. There is a single ominous red button glowing and floating in between Brad and the lawyers.
Hello, Brad. We are so glad you could join us this Thursday morning. Myself and my comrade are here to ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What brought you here today?
Brad holds up his jury summons.
Is this jury duty?
Yes. Welcome, Brad. Do you like movies?
Yeah, I enjoy movies.
What kind of movies?
I mean, I enjoy suspenseful movies.
Have you seen The Watchmen yet?
Nah, I missed that one.
Brad, have you had any recent interactions with the police?
I mean, I just got a ticket on my bike.
Did that experience inform how you think about cops?
I mean, not particularly.
So do you know any police officers?
My father is a retired police officer.
Do you have a good relationship with your father?
Huh? I mean, look, I was saying my dog is really sick and it's probably not in my capability to be of good judgment.
Your father. What is the nature of your relationship with him?
I don't know. There's not much of a nature.
Meaning you don't have a relationship with your father who served in the force? Did his service to his occupation put a strain on your relationship?
Nah, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just an asshole. I mean, plus his department only protected him with a pension. Police departments don't do much to actually keep up the mental health of the people in their service.
How is your mental health?
Are
you seeing everything straight?
I'm okay, I think.
Lawyer 1 reaches for the red button and hovers his hands over. He begins to hear the famous "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire" soundtrack in the distance.
Do you know what the 6th and the 14th Amendment states?
Yeah, it's like everyone is due an impartial trial by a jury of their peers, right? And I believe the 14th is that every citizen born in the US is indeed a naturalized citizen. Something like that. I didn't really pay much attention in government class.
The lawyers look at each other. Lawyer 1 hovers his hands over to the ominous red button and presses it. Brad's chair begins to shake, and he feels the ground around him becoming unsteady. The words, "Preemptory challenge," lights up behind the 2 lawyers. Brad begins to plummet through space and time again. As he falls, he has visions of Eddie from the elevator corridor. This time, Eddie is behind bars.
Yo, I told you, this is how the game goes. You got to show up and show out.
The white girl wearing the Black Lives Matters t-shirt appears again, raising a fist. As the fist gets higher above her head, she promptly disappears into thin air. Suddenly, Sandra disappears again.
Hey, Brad, how are we doing? I see we are falling through the cracks. Don't worry, you still have an opportunity to show up.
Sure. But the thing is, my dog is sick, and I gotta get back.
Wow, even as we fall, we are still looking for excuses. You have one more chance.
The floating image of Sandra hands Brad a black button, similar to the red button.
This is how the game goes, Brad.
Brad looks at the button and presses it immediately. Bastion challenge is eliminated by the stars. Brad falls and begins to slow down as he comes to a floating halt. End scene.
Thank you to our amazing artists who are lending their time to us this evening. That is Xander Jackson, Ekemini Ekpo, Donnell Cole Price. We also have Kira DeCoudre as our wonderful live stream producer. And of course, I am joined by BRTW producers, Mia Kogabia and Tim Craig. For any writers out there who are wondering, how do I get paid to have my work shown at a Melanated Monday? Well, I'll tell you, because we want to pay you and show your work during Melanated Monday. You can go to our website, thebrtw.org. If you click on the section that says Melanated Mondays and scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a handy dandy application form. You can submit just a section of your work with a quick description. And of course, let us know that your work passes the kind of, bias FUBU, checklist that we have, making sure that it's by a Black writer, features Black characters. These Black characters are three-dimensional. That's basically the kind of bare minimum to say BRTW has an interest in this work. And then we can follow up from there. Actors who are looking to work with us can send us an email at admin@thebrtw.org. Unfortunately, it's hard out here to be a theater company and to be Black and to have 11 other jobs. I'm just keeping it real with y'all. So sometimes responses are delayed, but we get back to y'all. One of the amazing actors that we have on tonight's performance and has been with us for quite a while reached out to us that way by sending us an email. And we're very glad that she did. Shout out to Ekemini. We're going to transition to the community conversation. As I mentioned before, we don't have a guest speaker this month. And while we're, kind of sad that we don't have a guest speaker, we're going to try and hold it down. All of our artists are welcome to stay on for the community conversation. And I'm going to get us started by actually sending a question over to Tim Craig, which is, can you talk to us a little bit about voir dire? I think it's not a secret that I really love this piece. I have a deep abiding love for absurdism. I have a deep abiding love for exploring how to break the conventions of Aristotelian structure. And I think just Tim knocks it out of the park with voir dire. And, maybe one day when we're, not worried about the potential threat that it poses to Black actors, we can look at putting it on stage. But I'm curious to hear, one, what informed your approach to this piece, and two, how via this piece you relate to this month's theme of remixing the Constitution.
Sure, Heather. Thank you so much. I want to, first of all, thank these lovely actors who brought the piece to life to help us get an understanding. So thank you so much. With your help, kind of learn other new things. I guess to answer your question, Heather, the best way that I know how. Voir dire was written originally for our civic engagement Melanated Mondays with Jabari Bridgeport. And I just feel like when it comes to remixing the Constitution or thinking newly about how the Constitution affects us, a big question that comes up is knowing our rights. Basically jury duty is one great example that kind of is hyper-focused. I wanted to hyper-focus on it, on how much we know how it exists and how it works. I think I was with civic engagement at that time around the election. There was so much focus on voting, which is incredibly important. But I kind of understood that we as Americans have two kind of engagements with our democracy kind of just offhand. And one of those is voting and one of those is jury duty. And so I kind of wanted to hyper-focus these aspects of jury duty, and a little bit of this is based on my own experience about learning about what a Bastion challenge is or what a preemptive challenge. These are real things that are created that do a certain thing when it comes to deciding a jury of your peers. And I was never privy to it. I was never aware of it. But I think knowing these little things, like that at the end, Brad has a Bastion challenge. Sandra hands him a Bastion challenge, which is, hey, basically saying you as a citizen, you get an opportunity to actually stay here and do jury duty, no matter what the answers to your questions are, after a preemptive challenge, which is handed to the citizen by the lawyers who may be taking part of the case. So that's a long story, but I feel like just creating a narrative or an absurd narrative to get people to understand what their rights are in a new and different way. I feel like so much of what they are is hidden from us. So I was just trying to bring light a little bit, you know. I always think about it like this. It's like if Black folks were in that room, you know, of creating the Constitution, we were able to get some different signatures on that. What would that look like, and how would it be of service to us when it comes to remixing the Constitution? So that's a kind of a big question that I had for this Melanated Monday. And I thank you so much, Heather, for your question.
Thanks for that. And one thing I really love about that is, you know, it's hard to get into a conversation about how you remix something without really knowing what the thing is that you're remixing. And so I love that Tim's work is highlighting an aspect of jury duty that a lot of us don't really think about, which is like, you know, we're all aware of the narrative of jury duty being a pain in the ass. I have, you know, had a jury duty summons before. And at the time I was in my early 20s, I was, you know, working my ass off. I had jobs that were like back to back to back to back, literally had no time to eat. And the thing that I was most focused on that particular day is as somebody who had hourly wages, getting paid $40 from the state was not going to even replace somebody who had minimum wage and was working an 8-hour day. And I was working way more than 8-hour days. And so, you know, there's the like real life substance, you know, subsistence issue about like, how do I get by while I'm sacrificing my time, which is also money, to do jury duty, but also this larger question of, you know, do I value this thing? Do I recognize what this thing is representative of? I'm wondering for our artists who were participating in this reading, what were your thoughts? What came to mind for you? How does this relate to how does this make you relate to the question of what your constitutional rights currently are and what you would like them to be?
Okay, so I feel like the character here in this piece, I mean, she sounded so robotic, like don't care about the justice system. You know what I mean? She just obviously just doing her job. I just feel like it's somewhat robotic. It may seem like there may be like some gaping holes on some areas that they can potentially work on to make the system much more efficient in the future. That's just kind of what I got from the basis of it. She sounded like a robot, and they sound like robots.
I think maybe something that sticks out to me is that as Brad is going through this kind of trial, he's constantly like it feels as though he's constantly being accosted, and it's and he mentions it when he's talking about the Sixth Amendment, that it's a right for people to be judged by a jury of their peers. And so I guess something that's just interesting is the tension between Brad kind of really being put through it while ultimately in service of something that's a right. Like it's not like like the difficulty through which he's having to get onto the jury is not something that should exist, because a jury of your peers should just be an automatic thing.
Did you have thoughts, Sander?
You know, it's really interesting because the way that this piece is structured, it reflects what a lot of, you know, even what I'm gonna like parrot what some people have been saying, you know, it reflects what the way a lot of people view jury duty, like you said, of being a pain, of being something that's like a bit of a chore. But then also you look at other systems throughout the world, and it's one of the better ways that like we found to dispense justice on high profile cases. But you then look at it from all angles, and the fact that, you know, like you said, you have people who are coming from really dire economical situations, and then they're being told that they might be sequestered in this jury for anywhere, like some normal trials go 2, 4, 6 weeks just because of litigation. And then it shows like a real issue in just how the courts are structured, the Constitution is structured, in that it feels like, you know, the government doesn't value your time, even though they tell you that it's a privilege. It's like there's an inequity there. And you know, I actually just personally went to do jury duty a couple months ago, and I had a conflict, so like I wasn't able to do it, and it felt not simplistic, but it felt very like dismissive in terms of, you know, going in there. It was very cold and very sterile environment, just waiting to even get into the court to see the judge. And then they're going through proceedings of canned speeches that they've given time and time again, which like almost, you know, it's striking how similar it is. You know, Donnell said it sounded robotic because when you're in the room, everybody has been doing the same thing time after time after time. It sounds very robotic. And then you look at the defendants who are either there or being represented by their lawyers, and it's like this, it means a lot more to them because they're on the line. But then, so you have only a few people in this scenario, you know, and then Brad being one of them, that it's like, this is not a robotic thing for me. This is, I either can or cannot do this, or I need some empathy in this system, and there feels like there's none. And it's really like, it makes you really yearn for some type of a change to happen, whether that be you're compensated more, or you have people who just care about this system more. And it feels like none of those are there when you're actually in it.
Yeah, I think jury duty kind of perfectly highlights what happens when you have a right and it's like filtered through this very streamlined understanding of what justice is, but not equity. This idea of like, you have a right to a jury of your peers based on whoever's theoretically available, but we're going to give this canned speech and not really worry about like the accessibility issues that raises, because regardless of how funny we might find it, if there's a bunch of bureaucrats who sound really robotic, at the end of the day, tone communicates a lot to a lot of people. Language communicates a lot to a lot of people. You know, it's funny, like we think about the ability to communicate via, you know, clarity of speech to a certain degree, but we don't often spend a lot of times on what language accessibility is, whether we're talking about populations for whom English might not be their first language, or even dealing with the fact that the average American does not read at the same level as someone with a JD. Like, I inhale books. I don't read at the same level as somebody with a JD. It's just like a different level of jargon, as well it should be. That's not my expertise, it's someone else's expertise. But what does it do to you intellectually? Is it a fair playing ground when you come into a room and somebody's like, well, are you interested in a Batson challenge? What is that? So that leads us into the other two pieces. And I do want to share that our colleague Miyako Gavia had to leave. She actually had an injury, so she is MVP tonight. She really toughed it out to perform this evening. But Miyako and I co-wrote After Swarm a minute ago. And, you know, at the time we were pressed about some stuff, some trends that we were seeing in politics, primarily people kind of suspending critical thinking around charismatic figures. I don't think it's, you know, surprising to hear this critique of Donald Trump. Everyone has it. It's nothing fresh. So the question that Miyako and I started writing After Swarm around was, what would it take to get us to go to a cult? What would it take to get the people that you look around and you're like, that person is a deep critical thinker, that person cares so much about their community, that person is civically engaged, you know, that person is beyond being converted into doing something that harms the social fabric? How do you get them? And so we started What Will Get Us. And that's why we started writing this, you know, organization that starts from a good place and warps over time. And, you know, there are a number of people who have different beliefs about what it will take to take the social fabric that we currently have and create a more equitable future. Ideas of what a revolution needs to be are not new. So it wasn't, you know, intellectually, you know, out of sight or anything to have this cult kind of revolve around the idea of like throwing a revolution and that revolution failing. And then spending the time examining how these people relate to, one, tensions about this organization that they're in, and two, still feeling very strongly that there is something fundamentally wrong about this country. And so the thing that's always, you know, difficult for me about Afterswarm, you know, even as the writer, is that there's a lot of it that that makes me think about my more naive days, but it also makes me think about frustrating conversations I have. And I think the question about remixing the Constitution can often bring up a lot of those frustrating conversations where we want change, but we don't know how to go about it. Or we want change so badly, we don't know how to go about it well, or we're not invested in figuring out how to go about it well. And the thing that we were really looking into with Afterswarm is what happens when you want change so badly that you're willing to sacrifice those who are suffering in your own community. We see it time and time again where it's, you know, people who are suspending, you know, examination of misogyny or homophobia or transphobia because they're so caught up in their own experience, they think you can sacrifice this one area that also impacts their community. That's a lot of words. That's a lot of words about what we're, you know, attempting to go after with Afterswarm. As it relates to this month's theme, for me, it comes back more to that conversation about what's effective. How do you effectively create change? How do you really sit and think about what you're sacrificing and who you're sacrificing it for? Whose resources are you sacrificing? So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the wonderful actors who lent their time and skills and talent to us this evening. You know, what about the work of Afterswarm, you know, made you relate to remixing the Constitution, and what aspects of that question came up for you?
Well, for me, I feel like everything's becoming so gray and everyone has an opinion, everyone has a platform. It's almost like going back to the minutes. We have to continuously fact check, you know? That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I hear you, Donnell. I feel like with Afterswarm, I think the tension, you know, there's tension in it is like so much circumstance with the timeline of the play and the circumstances that the character is in. It's like every single line, every single word is like full of, you know, this is possible certain death at every moment. And so it just reminds me, because of the, you know, again, the talented actors that we're working with tonight, and what reminded me of the tension of that time. So like, you know, Revolutionary War, you know, the Bastille, so many times in you know, history, you know, I'm sure it's a couple moments in Haiti where revolution was on the horizon. And so there was a possibility of change. There was a possibility of an acceptance of something new. And I think reading Afterswarm kind of reminded me of that. And then, you know, especially the character of Gigi and her experiencing the loss of the bees, because it was a great guide for her and how you start a new society naturally. And so how you create those moments of change naturally kind of come from that, what Colton was saying, or his philosophy, you know, continue to keep pressure and discipline, which works sometimes, which sometimes it doesn't. But just that heightened sense of almost kind of like similar to like Reconstruction, that there are more possibilities than what we have been used to. And I think when it comes to remixing the Constitution, we get so inundated, I think that's the word, with how things work, similar to a voir dire, that we don't question like what the fuck is, excuse my language. We don't question what a Batson challenge is and how does it work for me as a person. Or, we don't think about. Yeah, I think, and so like I think After Swarm reminded me that there is a possibility to have new leaders and to have change. To answer your question.
It's interesting with this piece specifically. It strikes me how relatable a lot of the characters are in just the way that they move through their world and how they interact with the other people in their scenes. Because like it reminds me that we haven't had any like a huge reckoning of upheaval in quite some time. So it feels like partly that we are overdue, and then also how through these characters, how quickly the pendulum can swing. Um, with these people that this is their, it reminds me of the concept that everybody there is no person that thinks they're the villain. Like everybody thinks they're the hero of their own story. So that these people feel that they are right. And I would love to really sink my teeth into the entire piece and see where they came from and where they're going and where they end up, because you can relate so easily to a lot of them, in that there's a hopelessness that they just feel that change needs to come no matter what. And there's a real narrative when people talk about cults that is incredibly negative and then also dismissive in the same breath. Like, oh, I could never be in a cult. It's like, well, I mean, you really don't know until you're in it. And a lot of people have the denial until it gets too late. And a lot of there is that jargon that they have that is very cult-like, but for the most part, it's very subversive, and it's very much subtext. And I just the human element in that piece is so rich that it's incredibly relatable, and I think that there's a lot that can be said for that, especially like when Tim said when the scene when Gigi loses the bees, and it's just like it seems just like a dismantling of her entire structure of how she's been handling with a lot of things. And there's a very real mirror between the hive and then the cult mindset, and how once one falls apart, the other is very easily dismantled in that own personal experience. And yeah, that's a lot of what I had to say on that.
Yeah, I think maybe the cousin of sorry, so I think that it's, I guess another saying is that history is told by the victors. And I think what struck me about this piece is that there's like these people are endeavoring to incite a revolution, and it's only in the fact that they've been marginalized and that they haven't necessarily been successful, and that the ultimate revolution is something that's still something to come, which is what leads them to be viewed from the outside as cultish or strange. Whereas even when the Revolutionary War happened in the United States, there wasn't unanimous support for leaving Britain. It's only something that we look back now, with them having been successful, that it's viewed positively by some in the course of history. I think it's also, Gigi has a line about how the island has been invaded by the Nest, And for me, that's also, it strikes me the parallel of an irony in trying to fight for freedom on top of land that you've un, unethically taken as your own and appropriated to your own devices. And even just the sense that Eva has been pushed to the background, it gives me a level of pause to wonder if Nest is really successful in this revolution that they're attempting to incite. What is the society that they're going to build if the marginalization of women is inherent to its construction? I think it's parallel to, I think, conversations we have now about how Black people who possess other privileged identities, the critique that they are trying to elevate themselves to a position of whiteness rather than create system a state of equality for everyone.
Ooh, say it again for the people in the back. Agamini coming for y'all neck. No, I loved all of those points. I truly, truly do. And I guess if there's any like wish I have for folks as they're thinking about this theme of remixing the Constitution is thinking, about the cost of the battle and like, why are we making the sacrifices that we're making? I find it, interesting sometimes in organizing spaces and activist spaces, the accusation is that you get to be idealistic over here as if that's a bad thing. And it's like, maybe this isn't the thing that's going to compel the voter that secretly thinks I'm not a person to show up in November. However, if we start at square one from a place where we're compromising on whether or not women are full people and whether or not queer people are full people or whether or not trans people are full people, if we're starting from a place of, well, we don't have to worry about the environment, we don't have to worry about indigenous lands, we don't have to worry about this, that, and the third, when we're sacrificing all of these things to move forward on just moving one little bit forward, we're sacrificing lives and communities and identities and their resources. We are sacrificing the ability of our social fabric to look back on itself with objective pride. There's a Paulo Freire quote I remember hearing a lot when I was in college, this idea that oppressors teach members of oppressed communities to look back on their bullshit. He didn't say bullshit, I'm gonna call it bullshit. To look back on their bullshit with pride, and teaches members of oppressed classes to look back with shame, to identify with villains. And I think that's instructive for us to keep in mind. We're not gonna move forward and accomplish things and then know that we should be proud of ourselves because we then wrote a history book about it. We should be able to move forward and know that we've accomplished things and be proud of ourselves because we're able to lift up people who are suffering and amplify the experiences of those at the margins and radically redistribute resources that are being hoarded by a tiny privileged class of people and are effectively committing violence and starving others by doing so. There is a kind of passivity that we've allowed people to have while harming other communities. And I guess my hope is, while we're thinking about remixing the Constitution, that we point at those things and recognize that we actually have to embrace the more difficult conversations, the ones that challenge what we do on a daily basis, whether it's how much plastic we're using, whether or not we acknowledge the lands that we're occupying, whether we mistreat certain people just because of who they are. That's my wish. So if anyone else would like to share their wish around the theme of remixing the Constitution, we can start bringing this evening to a close.
Sure, I'll start. It's a doozy, but when it comes to remixing the Constitution, I think coming at you from a writer is one thing, but now I'm going to come at you from a visual artist. And I always get the image of children, children and kids, teenagers, or the youth, I would say, having more of a hand, having more of an opinion on how their world is going to be created. And I always have this image of like kids in like kindergarten with paint, and they like are literally painting the Constitution, just like they did in 1776. Or I guess that was a direct declaration. But young adults having more of an emphasis on lawmaking, policy making. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Having more of a say from their perspective. I think so much of the policy is created by people 75 and up. As you can kind of see in the recent news, legislation is being created by elders, which is fine, but it is very limited. And so when it comes to remixing the Constitution, I would like to see things become more practical, and I would like to see the youth's voice being heard. So, youth summits about policy and legislation.
I think my biggest thing would actually be removing the sanctity or the reverence with which we collectively approach the Constitution, as though it's this thing that was like handed down from the heavens and therefore is perfectly fine and perfect and not subject to change or critique. Because I think a lot of harm has come from the sense that the Constitution is an objective document, and that therefore, if you align yourself with the Constitution, you've aligned yourself with a sense of ethics or morals that would stand the test of time if was really assessed or critiqued. Yeah, I think that would be number one for me.
I would definitely jump on that idea of just dismantling the notion that it is something that is a fixed point that can't be altered, and this thing that should not be touched. And like you said, that this is a piece of literature from the divine, is how many people approach it, where it makes it very difficult for any type of change to really come into effect. And a lot of times we and I think it's just human nature that we have a bit of a tunnel vision when we talk about anything in terms of altering or remixing the Constitution, where we grab onto like one or two ideals that are either strong in our life, or we have had very, very personal experiences with, or something that's very stark in the media, where there are so many different avenues that like it needs to be altered. And the thing that I cue in on, especially specifically in this moment, is when Heather mentioned environmentally, and there's this huge movement that is coming now about converting a lot of our power to like electricity. And this is like a big movement because there's a lot of stark climate change that is happening all around that we can tangibly see. And it's only until it gets really, really bad, or until something really, there's this huge upheaval, that then now we're like, oh, we have to do it now. It's like, we've known about this for 50 years. Like, we could have done this before, but now it's either it's at the point where we have to change, or it wasn't easy back then and now it's mandatory now. I would think my biggest thing would be a shift in mindset of just not going the easy route, and really taking a look at whatever issue we're trying to tackle from multiple different angles, and finding out what the most effective solution would be, and not the one that is going to be the easiest because people have difference of opinions, or the one that will ruffle the least amount of feathers. It's like, I mean, if we continue along that path, either no change will happen, or change will happen so slowly that it won't be effective for us in the here and now, and then we're going to be up a creek without a paddle. So I think that just looking for the best solution, not the easy solution, I think would be my wish.
Donnell, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, from like Xander's point, It's almost like when you type in an address in like Google Maps, the most efficient way to get there versus the fastest, you know? Yeah. Sometimes the most efficient, the fastest isn't always the most practical. It doesn't always, you know, help society. That's all.
Word. Well, I want to thank all of our amazing artists again, Xander Jackson, Ekemini Ekpo, Donnell Cole Price, and of course the amazing co-producers that keep BRTW going, Tim Craig and Miyako Gavia. And special shout out to our live stream producer, Kira DeCoudre, and Melanated Mondays has its very own line producer, Meredith King, who is not with us this evening, but trust me, we would not be here without all of her hard work, and we deeply appreciate her for it. If you are a Black artist and you would like your work included in an upcoming Melanated Monday, submit on thebrtw.org on the Melanated Monday page. As an actor, you can email us your headshot and resume and reel, all the things that you want to see it. Don't send us all the things, actually, that's a lot to be looking at. Send us some things to consider at admin@thebrtw.org. Sorry, I realized that in real time what I was saying. And a special shout out for writers. We have Revolution Now returning for 2021. We are accepting applications for the 2021 cohort right now. Applications are due, I want to say midnight, October 13th. And if I'm strong and wrong, I do apologize, but you can double check me by going to thebrtw.org under programs, selecting Revolution Now. That program is only open to Black writers. I want to say it again for the people in the hypothetical back, only open to Black writers. There's so many programs out there that are for writers of all backgrounds, and a lot of them end up surprisingly filled with nothing but white people. The reason why this program is only open to Black people is so that we can make sure that we're taking care of our community. It's for original work, so please don't submit a fully finished play. These plays will be produced by BRTW on Black Revolutionary Media, our podcast. We will be fully producing them. We have amazing audio producers that we look forward to working with. You'll get dramaturgical, directorial, and producing support as you're in the writing process. And of course, you'll get paid $250. So, oh, and of course, the last Melanated Monday of 2021 is dedicated to our Revolution Now cohort. So we want to produce your work. We want to get you out there. We want to platform you. Help us do it. Tim, what did I forget?
In addition to the 2021 Revolution Now cohort, you can take a listen to the current Revolution Now cohort on all of your streaming podcast networks, the Audible, the Apple, and the Spotify. There's some really lovely talent from a writing point of view, of course. There's also some really lovely and talented actors that are doing some really great work on our podcast. I know I'm a co-artistic director with this team, but even if I wasn't, this is a low-key stunner as far as storytelling goes. So if you have an evening, or taking a nice long shower, or bubble bath, or cooking up a casserole, this is something that you want to turn on and hear, because some of these storytellers are really doing something special. And that will also be at the end of next year's Revolutionary cohort with a podcast featured with all these talented actors. So go take a listen to it now to get a taste of what's coming in the future.
Thanks for that, Tim. And that is Black Revolutionary Media. And I also want to shout out the production quality on that, because, the reality of Melanated Mondays is that it's supposed to be a workshop. You're hearing things in their malleable form. And even, when we were live, the readings weren't entirely cold, but, our actors don't have a lot of time with this work. And that's part of the way that we're able to stay open to writers month after month after month after month. Black Revolutionary Media is a different production experience. Our amazing audio producers are adding the sound effects, and it's atmospheric, it's grounded, it's a whole different experience, and it's all blackity black, black, black. You can also check us out on social media at the BRTW on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're still on Facebook with my Meemaw, it's at Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop. And, we're out here, we're broke, we're paying the Black kids. Please donate. You can do that on our website, thebrtw.org/ donate. But you can also find us on Venmo at the BRTW. We are trying to make it easy. Please support us, pretty please. And with that, I think we're at the end of our broadcast. I'm a shout out to Kira DeCoudre again that we can end the recording.